truck up to a park and dump garbage. Unfortunately, all too many people do that, and right now that's exactly what our companies in America and we are all doing, is we're all putting global warming pollution into the sky.
What do you think of the current state of our nation's air pollution?
I think in most areas it's actually pretty decent. Air quality's, as far as I can tell, is pretty nice. There's only a couple places that I go to that it's not nice. That would be Chicago, Illinois, and Los Angeles, California, and that's mostly due to either massive population in a small area and industrial, big industrial areas, or like in the case of LA, you've got mountains on the east side that basically keep in all the smog from the cars and the smokestacks. So overall, especially in the Midwest, it's pretty good, but probably the coast isn't so good.
Ecological contamination, or in other words pollution, is a greenhouse gas emitted by cars that we use every day. It affects the earth in a way that it gets trapped in our atmosphere, which also gets trapped with the solar rays from the sun, which produces more heat that makes the northern and southern poles melt. Certain cars, like American cars, produce more emissions because of the fact that they have more weight and they use more fuel to run. Lower emissions vehicles like Japanese cars aren't as heavy as American cars, and their engines are made specifically to run on less gas. Hybrid vehicles like partial zero emission vehicles are like the new cars that are coming out. Also, innovation is coming through that's producing smart cars that run on hydrogen and emit only water.
When you're up in the helicopter, what do you see?
Well, it's extremely obvious that there's large amounts of trash burning and kind of toxic materials being burned across the border in Mexico. I basically can see a thick brown to black haze between the ground and all the way up to almost 250 feet on most days, especially days where the wind is low. And the smell as you're flying along smells like burning rubber.
Are there certain areas where the air pollution is more visible?
Yes, usually right south of the Franklin Mountains in the south side of downtown, from Anapra basically all the way around to like Escarte Park there in the middle of El Paso. It's usually the worst.
Okay. Are there certain times during the day where there's more air pollution in the air?
In the morning time is usually where you see it the most, and the reason that is because overnight a lot of people in Juarez will burn trash, tires, and other seriously polluting materials and overnight to keep warm, and then that stuff, because the wind is usually lower because of lower convective activity, at night that'll kind of sit and kind of permeate without blowing away because there's no wind.
Are there certain days or months when the air pollution is more visible?
The winter months. Winter months you have less wind, no thunderstorms, no real movement of the air from the surface to 1,000 feet or so. It really keeps that pollution low to the ground where it doesn't rise up and blow away. So usually typically between November and January, November and February. And then in February it kind of goes away because of the wind.
The air pollution will be in 10 years.
I could actually see it probably getting a little bit better. I mean, most nations, as they industrialize or basically become more energy conscious, they make rules, they find better ways of doing things. Maybe they'll find a different energy source, and they can get things under control, at least on the south side of El Paso, to where they can start focusing on things like pollution and helping the individuals out there find alternative fuels to burn other than trash.
Well, thank you.
Well.
Some ways that you can help reduce greenhouse gases would be to plant more trees, which would consume more CO2 and emit more oxygen. Another way would to mass produce more hybrid vehicles and smart cars, which are hybrid vehicles are like vehicles that have gasoline and electricity. Smart cars are they take in hydrogen and emit more water. You can also trip chain or carpool, which is going to work like with your coworkers, and like you guys all drop off there, and so that would like reduce less gasoline and car emissions. Which is another thing, is reduce less gasoline usage, which can be avoided by simple things like running, walking to work, biking. We can also harness just renewable resources that we have in our environment, which would be stuff like our solar energy, which can easily happen with solar panels, or hydroelectricity, which is when the water, like fast rushing water with rivers, turns a generator and it creates electricity, which is the same thing like wind power, which is another one, and it just turns the generator into electricity.
With these measures taken and guidelines followed, we can reduce the impact of greenhouse gas and curb the effect of humanity on the planet.